Hey guys, super excited to see you all again. Some questions just seem really extra and kind of dumb, right? Like, what is time? Duh. Who doesn't know what time is? Can we get a harder question, please? A lot of people probably think that. But seriously though, what is time? If you're fast, you can Google the answer in just 3 seconds. But are you satisfied with that answer? I mean, do you really understand what time is after reading those Google results? If that's good enough for you, maybe don't waste another 10 minutes of your life on this video. But if you want to dive into something much, much deeper, welcome to Fact 5 Minutes Universe 96. What is time? Humans don't know exactly what time is, but we feel its flow through the progression of events and phenomena. By observing events that repeat in natural cycles, like the movement of the moon and sun and the seasonal changes, humans created the first calendars to aid their progress. The ancients needed machines to measure time with greater accuracy. That's when the sundial, water clock, hourglass, pendulum clock, and mechanical clock were born. And if the precision of those mechanical clocks had satisfied people, the digital clock wouldn't even exist. Digital clocks measure time from the vibrations of quartz crystals, giving an accuracy tens of times better than those old machines with springs and gears. Using a similar principle, atomic clocks count the number of oscillations of the Cs133 atom and convert it into time at a ratio of 1 second for every 9,192,631,770 oscillations, resulting in an error of just 1 second every 30 million years. The funny thing is, even though we can measure time with mind-blowing accuracy, we still have no idea what the heck it is. Time can be defined as the continuous sequence of existence and events that occur in a clear, irreversible order from past to present to future. By this definition, time is like a flow, an arrow shot from the past, passing through the present to reach the future. Classical mechanics, established by Sir Isaac Newton and earlier by Galileo Galilei, held that time is a purely measurable quantity, one-dimensional, without end, unchanging in speed under all circumstances and separate from space. You can't touch time, but you know it exists and you can measure its duration. And time would have continued to be that simple until Einstein created the theory of relativity. He merged time with three-dimensional space, length, width, height, forming a four-dimensional entity called spacetime. And as if things weren't complicated enough, Einstein claimed that time does not necessarily have to be the same everywhere. Time passes slower the closer you get to the speed of light, and theoretically, it stops at the speed of light. In reality, light itself has no experience of time. Imagine placing a light bulb symmetrically opposite the sun, with the Earth at the center. You flip the light switch at the exact moment you start your stopwatch. 8 minutes and 20 seconds later, you see the light turn on. For you, 8 minutes and 20 seconds have passed. But for the light rays from the bulb, it was 0 seconds. Similarly, you could step into a spaceship launching into space at 99.99% the speed of light. At this speed, 1 year for you would be equal to 70 to 75 years back on Earth. Furthermore, time also slows down when you are near a massive celestial body, like Earth for example. The greater the mass, the more time is slowed. If you were in a spaceship orbiting very close to a black hole that is 1,000 times the mass of the sun, every single day that passes for you would be equivalent to 8 days on Earth. You don't even have to go that far. The Earth's core is closer to the center of mass, so it experiences time slower. As a result, it is about 2.5 years younger than the rocks on the surface of the planet after 4.5 billion years of existence. Likewise, if you had two perfectly accurate clocks, one strapped to your head and one to your feet, when you check them at the end of your life, the one on your head would be running faster by a few dozen nanoseconds. Einstein called this time dilation, and it is precisely the way you can time travel to the future. Despite becoming incredibly complex and hard to grasp, one characteristic of time is still preserved: its one-directional nature. Whether it flows slowly or quickly, whether it dilates or not, time only moves from past to present to future, absolutely never reversing its direction. This is what prevents the possibility of time travel to the past, even in theory. And the theory that blocks those adventures into the past, which I'm sure are deeply desired by many of you watching, is the second law of thermodynamics. If you're looking for something easy to understand, the second law of thermodynamics states that our universe is an isolated system. And in an isolated system, the degree of chaos can only stay the same or increase. An ice cube on the table will melt into water, but the puddle of water on the table cannot freeze back into the original ice cube shape. A flat tire will leak air and deflate, but the air cannot suck itself back in and make the tire inflate again. A red-hot iron bar dropped into a bucket of water will make the water warm up and the iron bar cool down. Conversely, the hot water in the bucket can cool down, but the iron bar won't spontaneously become red-hot again. In the three examples above, the ice cube, the inflated tire, and the red-hot iron bar represent a low degree of chaos, or low disorder. Simply put, the degree of chaos is lower when energy is more concentrated. In those three cases, energy was concentrated in the three objects: the cold ice, the pressurized tire, and the hot iron. Conversely, we say that the degree of chaos is higher when energy is spread out and dispersed. It's easy to see that the energy in the ice cube has been spread out in the puddle of water, the energy in the tire has been dispersed into the air, and the heat from the iron bar has been scattered into the bucket of water. On a larger scale, a star dying and creating a supernova explosion is also a classic example of increasing chaos, aka entropy of the universe. The universe began as an infinitesimal point. This was the highest concentration of energy, which is also the lowest state of chaos the universe ever achieved. Today, the universe is expanding at an accelerating rate. An expanding universe means that the energy within it is increasingly spread out and dispersed. And as we analyzed above, this is equivalent to increasing entropy. On the scale of the universe, entropy can only increase and cannot decrease. This means that no natural process can be reversed, and that means no traveling back against the flow of time. Furthermore, time travel to the past would also create time paradoxes, the most famous of which is the grandfather paradox. Try to imagine whatever. Let's call him A. A is a disrespectful but smart grandson. He invents a time machine that can travel to the past. But instead of killing Hitler to prevent World War II, or buying a winning jackpot ticket to spoil his parents, A decides to go back and kill his own grandfather before he meets his grandmother. The result is that A has prevented his own birth, which also prevents the time machine from being invented and prevents him from killing his grandfather in the first place. If A was never born, his grandfather wouldn't have been murdered in the past. But if he wasn't murdered, he would meet the grandmother and help her give birth to A's father. And A's father, a decent man, would then help A's mother give birth to A. And A would once again be able to go back to the past to kill his grandfather. This creates a contradiction and a paradox. Some solutions for the grandfather paradox are that when A travels to the past, he has actually moved to a parallel universe and killed that A's grandfather. Another theory suggests that when he kills his grandfather, a completely new universe without his grandfather branches off and develops in a different, independent direction from the current universe. Both scenarios sound really cool, but they currently lack scientific basis. Circling back to the main point, time may not exist at all. Like color, it might just be an illusion created by the human brain. The human brain is equipped with several different organs and tools to perceive time. Each time range is processed in different areas. The sub-1 second or millisecond range is handled by the cerebellum. The seconds to minutes range is processed by the cortical striatal thalamic cortical circuit, including the motor cortex, parietal lobe, and prefrontal cortex. Finally, the biological time range of approximately 24 hours related to sleep-wake cycles and the body's metabolic processes is handled by a small structure located in the anterior part of the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. However, even the brain's time-sensing organs can be affected and become inaccurate. Many substances, both legal and illegal, are widely used, such as coffee, alcohol, cannabis, and magic mushrooms, which directly influence this complex process and create significant changes in our perception of time. In general, substances that stimulate nerve cells, causing them to be more active, speed up the perception of time, meaning time feels like it's passing faster. Conversely, substances that inhibit neurons slow down the perception of time, meaning time feels like it's passing slower. Magic mushrooms contain psilocybin, which is metabolized into psilocin after entering the body. Psilocin is a hallucinogen and is why psilocybin mushrooms are called magic mushrooms. Besides causing hallucinations, psilocybin also affects the time perception of mushroom users. By giving a group of healthy students magic mushrooms, researchers found that their perception of time for short intervals, under 2 seconds, was still accurate. But for longer intervals, the subjects gave overestimations, meaning they experienced time slower than reality. For those on mushrooms, the universe is basically set to slow motion. Additionally, time also seems to slow down in emergency or dangerous situations, such as before a car crash or the moment you fall. It may sound like the brain is speeding up its processing to bend time, but that's not actually the case. Scientists believe the brain doesn't speed up. Only the amygdala becomes slightly more active. The amygdala is the brain region that creates memories. When a dangerous or extremely scary situation occurs, the amygdala creates additional memories, making your recollection of those scary or dangerous moments richer and more detailed. This creates the illusion that the event lasted longer, or in other words, that time has slowed down. Psychologists believe that the human brain tends to form more memories of novel experiences than familiar ones. When you're young, everything is new, so the brain creates a lot of memories. As you get older, you enter the routine of family and work with repetitive tasks. The number of new experiences gradually decreases, and fewer new memories are created. As a natural consequence, the events in your life become thinner, less rich, creating the illusion that time seems to be speeding up. This is also why adults often feel that time passes faster than when they were young. Getting back to time, scientists are quite certain that time had a starting point about 13.8 billion years ago. If time had no starting point, or if the arrow of time stretched infinitely into the past, we would certainly know it. Light from trillions upon trillions of stars in the universe would have had enough time to reach Earth and light up our night sky. In other words, if time had an infinitely long past, Earth would not have the night sky we see today. And if time has a starting point, does it have an end? We don't know. If the universe is eternal, time will be infinite. If a new Big Bang occurs, our timeline will end and a new one will begin. It seems only time itself can answer all the questions about time, if it truly exists.